This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to The Great Love Debate, the world's #1 dating and relationship podcast since 2015. I am here in the lovely studios of Pod Populi. And, we've touched on a bunch of things in recent episodes, and we did a particular focus on, we did about 3 podcasts on what I called the pussification and the emasculation of the American male. And we talked about, we did an episode on the importance of apologies, and we talked about why 2021 is or should be the best dating year ever. And we talked about how the worst of you could lead to the best of you. We've done a lot of interesting episodes recently. And we asked for, and oh boy, did we get a bunch of responses to those episodes. And as always, some were insightful, and some were delusional, and some were somewhat what? Some of them were just what? So it is that time again. Today we're going to dive into the mailbag because you guys sent us a whole bunch of thoughts and responses and opinions. And we're going to flesh out a fresh batch of listener letters. And I needed some added perspective and possibly even some wisdom to join me today. So in my travels, I meet a lot of interesting people from interesting backgrounds. So I brought a couple of ladies in here because they're going to talk, because most of these are sort of guy-centric responses to what we talked about. And they have some opinion on, and dare I say, some experience with the fellas. One is she has a very interesting background, a very interesting brand, and she has a very interesting job. She's the farm babe. I don't know if that does it for you. And she's going to explain a little bit what that means, but it's very interesting. She's got a real background in a lot of things that a lot of us do not have a background on. She said she was the farm babe last night, and I asked if cow milking translated to sexual prowess, and I'm not sure she's been asked that before. Anyway, Michelle Miller, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
What is the farm babe?
Oh, the farm babe. I work to bridge the gap between consumers and farmers and help people learn where their food comes from. So I came from a larger scale farm in Iowa, about 2,000 acres of corn and soybeans, cattle, sheep. And now I'm on a 17-acre farm on my own down here in north central Florida. Wow. And I just travel around. I do public speaking. I'm a writer and a columnist, and have a social media following to share the story of where our food comes from. Do a lot of myth
It comes
busting.
from cows and fields?
It comes from the grocery store.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knows that.
Now it comes from Amazon. It comes to my house, and I don't know how to eat it. That is interesting. We're gonna ask you a little bit. Farmers Only is not a good place to date.
I have not tried it.
Oh, okay.
But
are farmers hot?
Not really. I know about 5 good-looking single men in all of agriculture, and I have all 5 of their phone numbers.
So you hoarded the 5. You're a farmer.
5.
You're a hot farmer hoarder. Yeah, that's true. So the men of the fields calendar is seasonal?
Well, and they're scattered around the country, and I travel a lot, so it's kind of hard.
One in Iowa, one in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I don't know any in Wisconsin.
Farming in California has a lot of migrant workers.
Yeah,
who is
farming in
doing
general.
that? Who is doing that work in the Midwest? Same.
So the Midwest is more so like the grain belt. So a lot of it is mechanized. So use combines and equipment to harvest. Whereas because it's grain, it's all automated. But when you have got like fruits and vegetables, it's definitely hand labor.
You could lose a hand with some of that automated. At the very least. See, great
farm
love.
equipment's dangerous.
Great love listeners, you tuned in. You didn't think you were going to get some farm stuff.
Talking
here.
about combines.
Also, she has an interesting sidekick. They could not be more different personality-wise. One's a little bit country, one's a little bit rock and roll. Julissa Caballero, is that close?
Caballero.
She's Jules of Boca, Raton, and she's originally from Argentina.
Father's Argentinian. I'm originally from Manhattan.
Oh, so you're just playing a interesting Argentinian. You were born in the States?
I was born in the States.
Well, that's far less exotic than I thought when you strutted in here.
Very exotic.
Okay. I'm not real. So you're no more foreign than me.
Correct.
Oh, well, who booked her? Anyway, I'm not saying you like them, but you don't mind married men?
No. I actually met one last night.
And what is the appeal of dating a married man?
You don't have to make a commitment, and they're very lovely. They take you to dinner, they buy you things, and
so they
you
buy
move
you
on.
things. As long as they buy you things, marriage can some wiggle room on the
It's
marriage
not my
thing.
problem.
Yeah,
It's
not
their
your problem.
Not my
It's your
problem.
problem. Okay,
Right.
buy you things.
Yes.
Okay, welcome to Florida. All right, we have a fresh batch of listener letters here. They go in all sorts of directions. There is a through line. We'll see if we can discover the through line here. I'm going to read them, and we're going to try and give some opinion or answer, or like I said, a bit of wisdom to try and help out these poor people. First one. This is from Daniel in Milwaukee, which is kind of your neck of
Hey, I'm
the
from
woods.
Wisconsin. There you go.
There you go. That's why you say Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Go Packers.
Here we go. Go Packer. Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Brian, you are flat out wrong. I go up to girls all the time, everywhere, and they just aren't interested. I say the things you suggest we say. I am hopeful and enthusiastic like you claim we need to be, and they just don't care. They pay no attention. So what else is left to do? So let me start with a little anecdote. We recently did a Great Love Debate live show in New York City, live with real people. And at one point, a woman in the audience, I asked, what do you want that you're not getting? And this woman, who was smoking hot, said, we want sex and we are not getting it. So I turned to the guy sitting about 3 feet from her and I'm like, yo, dude, do you want to have sex, or would you have sex with her? And he goes, yeah, I mean, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
And he, in a million years, could never have probably gotten her. All he had to say was, fuck yeah. That's the answer. So in his mind, he said something like, I would, or I agreed, like, what else do you want me to say? So Daniel, I'm not to guess at what you're doing. Just because you go up to them, just because you say, there's a manner and a way that can vary 100 different directions on how you do it. Yeah, I guess it's not the same as fuck yeah. So it's how are you approaching and what are you doing? You run into wishy-washy guys all the time,
Oh,
right?
yes. I met one here last night. And he proved my point correct.
So what is the problem? The women do want sex.
Of course.
And they want the guys to step up. I've been making this argument
Yes.
for a long, long time that the men have gotten a little softer and the women have gotten a little harder, and that has really caused a disconnect in where we are as men and women. You can still be a good guy without defining yourself as a nice guy. They don't trust the nice guy. They don't trust that you're actually nice. They can see that and they want to know where the bad is. Be a good guy, but have some balls and go up there. So Daniel, I want to know like how you're approaching, when you're approaching, what is your attitude when you're approaching? If can a guy just walk up to you and tell you, God, I think you're hot, pretty, beautiful, and that's fine?
Yes, and I love it, and I appreciate that when they do that. I do appreciate. I love a nice guy. Like, nice guys don't scare me off. I love it.
How are you defining a nice guy?
Just somebody that just treats you right.
That's more of a good guy. A nice guy, the ones who define themselves as nice guy, like I just said, the women don't trust it. They're like, let me see the bad and I can work with that. The nice
It is,
guys.
yeah. You should never, in my opinion, like get too excited about a guy until you see how he handles conflict. That's like my rule.
Exactly, because they all have a dark side.
Yeah.
But a nice guy, being pleasant and being, approaching you in a positive and enthusiastic manner, pursuing you, not chasing you, but this is who I'm focused on in this moment, only you. That goes a long way
does.
to, I'm just going to stand in front of her and hope she reacts.
Sees me?
Yeah, and hope she sees me.
And I think sometimes too, like my question for him would be like, is he in the same league? Right.
Right.
Like, I think there's too many people, like,
How do we know
I
we're
have-
in the same league?
I have friends that are like, "Hey, Michelle, you're single now. Like, I have a really nice single guy for you." And then, I'm like, "That guy, really? Like, I'm not a friggin' ogre. Like, I mean, I'm not a supermodel, but I'm a pretty girl."
You said you liked a nice guy, and
well,
maybe they're nice
guys
first.
can be good looking, right? Please tell
Can
me,
they?
right?
I have not met a good-looking nice guy.
Oh no.
Because the good-looking guy, like he
They
doesn't
can have anything that they want.
I'm newly single, and I'm newly single for the first time in like about 10 years ish. I mean, I've had little pockets of single here and there, but I don't even know.
Little pockets of single here and there during the course of the
I've been
relationship.
single 47
like
years.
we broke up for like, a few months and then we got back together and then we broke up and then COVID happened and, so.
We broke up and then COVID happened. So what, you sought
they
shelter?
cohabitated.
I had to stay quarantined with my ex.
You, not to get too much into your personal life, but you did tell me this before we started recording, that you were in a relationship for about 8 years
Almost,
with
yeah.
somebody who would not take it to the next
Could
level.
not put a ring on it, yeah.
What did he
that's-
do to keep dangling that carrot?
He dangled the carrot all right. Yeah, he took me ring shopping like 3 years in a row and
No.
still never did it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And we're still good friends. Like I just really loved him, and he's a good guy. He's a good, nice, good looking, checked all my boxes.
Would it make your life easier if he called you and said, I'm engaged to someone else?
He would never. I'm telling you, he would never do it. Like I know this. I know the story, right? People are like, oh, he wouldn't put a ring on it, and then he got engaged to the very next one, right? But he's not dated anybody else, and he really doesn't care. I'm like the only girlfriend he's ever had. He just loves the farm, and that's all he cares about. All he wants to do is farm.
All he wants to do is farm?
He does not give a shit if he has a girlfriend.
And
or
what do
not.
you want that for?
Right.
Well,
Why
I
do
mean,
you care?
he was a good boyfriend.
Apparently not.
Well, I know, but
Takes
not.
you ring chopping 3 times.
And
to
he
pull the trigger.
never did it. I know
Yeah,
it was
not-
it was messed up. Yeah.
That's not a good for.
That
What
doesn't
do you-
sound like a nice guy.
See,
Well, yeah, that's true.
You spend a lot of time in Manhattan and a lot of time in Florida.
Right.
There are a lot of ballsy, douchey, big personality
Correct.
things. Does that help? Does it help with you? How do you
I
straddle
think that
between?
they're so attractive when they are at that level of ballsy, because I can also be a bitch.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and going back to your point, I totally agree. They have to be at my level.
Yeah.
I can't.
What does that mean?
There are guys that just come up to me and they think that they could date me, and I'm like,
Because we've
no,
all
dude.
seen Adam Sandler movies where at some point she's like, "Oh my God, he's okay." That romantic comedy, women have an interpretation of romantic comedies, and so do men. The men's interpretation is the loser can get the girl.
No, not with me.
Well, it depends, Julissa. How big is their bank account for you?
Correct. So I have a girlfriend that taught
Right.
me that I can't date anyone with less than $10 million. It's just not going
And
to work.
I could give
Why?
2 shits. I'm like,
Because
I don't
we'll
care
be
how much money
broke.
they have.
What are you spending $10 million on as a girlfriend? What do you mean you'll be broke? You're not marrying the guy, right?
Well, I do want to get married. I've never been married.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a guy with $4 million can't date you?
It's broke.
That's
God.
broke?
Especially
What
here.
what do you need?
Everything.
What do you need that's going to cost $4 million to be happy?
Everything.
No, see, I think that's your mistake. You don't need any of those things to be happy.
Okay.
Now, you don't need a farm either. But so to get back to the question, Daniel, I think you have to send us a little more detail. I think we need to know how you're approaching.
Yeah.
Hopeful enthusiastic doesn't necessarily mean jumping jacks in front of her either. You could just come off like a jackass. So you have to really get one of your girlfriends to analyze how you are approaching. Do that. Do a little wing woman session and let the women say what you're doing, because it could come off as creepy. It could come off as nervous. It could come off as weird. Just putting yourself in front of her is not enough. So I think
Yeah,
you need to
I
get some
definitely agree with
get
that.
some
Yeah.
videotape. Let's go to send us some video of you doing that. We will handle it.
Yeah, homeboy's gonna have a TikTok channel next.
Okay. Next one. Yeah. Make a TikTok of your approach. All right. Next one is from Cynthia she sent it via our Facebook page. You had that woman on recently to talk about the science of sex. It was fantastic, but I still am not sure about one thing. If sex makes us crazy, like she said, but we are biologically designed to have sex, does that mean that we are essentially designed to be crazy? In which case, isn't crazy absolutely normal? Huh.
We had this conversation yesterday, too.
Like I said, we're all special needs children. We're all a little crazy. How forthright you are with your freak flag matters. But that was Dr. Dawn Massler, who was on the podcast about 6 weeks ago. And she talked about that. She's like, the sex makes us crazy. The sex brings us out crazy. It's a perfectly normal reaction. So as Cynthia says, is crazy normal? Crazy is normal.
Everybody's crazy.
It's how you control your crazy, and more importantly, how does your crazy affect the other person and
Correct.
affect the relationship? You can be crazy and you can dance in a clown costume in your bedroom by yourself all you want. Does my crazy infringe on the other person, and does it cause a problem in our relationship? I think that's really the answer, right?
Yeah, everybody Everybody's freaking crazy. I love this
Agreed.
whole movement of like mental health and talking about everything, because the more you realize and people open up about it, you realize everybody's fucking